The night she went missing, the camera captured everything. She didn't answer her phone, not the first call, not the second, not even the third, when my voice had finally dropped into something I barely recognized. Quiet, steady, stripped of anything warm. She had left the company party 2 hours ago. At least, that's what she told me. Her last message still glowed on my screen, "Heading home soon, don't wait up." But I was still awake, still waiting, still listening to the slow hum of the refrigerator cutting through the silence of our apartment. A silence that felt wrong, hollow, like something was missing long before she vanished. I stared at the door, at the empty hallway, at her shoes that should have been inside by now. My heartbeat wasn't fast, it was steady, too steady, a calm that didn't feel like peace. It felt like the stillness before a storm finally decides where to break. Then my phone lit up. Not her. Unknown number. I answered, and the voice on the other end was low, hesitant. "Sir, this is the building security at your wife's office. We found something you should see." My fingers tightened around the phone. "What is it?" "A camera recorded her last movements tonight. We tried calling her too. She never came back inside after she walked out." The silence stretched. "We think you should come." A chill went through me. Cold, heavy, absolute. Because in that moment, before I even saw the footage, I already knew something had happened. And I knew it wasn't an accident. The security office smelled like stale coffee and old carpet. A single monitor glowed in the dim room, illuminating the guard's uneasy face as I entered. He nodded toward the chair. "She's your wife, right, Mira?" My jaw tightened. "Yes." He pressed play. At first, nothing unusual, just the dim parking lot behind the company, the exit door swinging open, and Mira stepping out. She was smiling, the kind of smile she didn't wear at home anymore, the kind of smile that used to belong to me. She glanced over her shoulder before walking toward a car parked just out of frame. Another figure stepped into view, a man, tall, confident, his hand brushing her lower back like it belonged there. She didn't pull away. If anything, she leaned into it. My breath didn't hitch, my hands didn't shake. I felt nothing, just the cold settling deeper. The guard cleared his throat. She left the party around 11:17 p.m. with him. They didn't come back. My wife had vanished. But not alone, not unwillingly, not confused or afraid. She had disappeared into a life I clearly didn't know. A second clip played. Her inside the hallway earlier that night, laughing, talking closely with the same man, touching his arm like old habit, not new temptation, a connection formed long before tonight. I leaned back. It wasn't shock, it wasn't heartbreak, it was confirmation of something I'd felt for months. Small shifts, small lies, small silences slipping between us like cracks spreading quietly across glass. "You want a copy?" the guard asked gently. "Yes." He handed me a flash drive. I pocketed it, thanked him, walked out into the cold night. And as I stood in the parking lot where she disappeared, looking at the empty space where their car had been, I realized something. This wasn't the night my marriage ended. It was the night the truth finally stopped hiding. I didn't go home, not yet. Instead, I drove to the quiet overlook outside the city, the place where I used to bring Mira before the weight of life had carved distance between us. The air was sharp, my mind even sharper. I watched the city lights below and let the pieces arrange themselves in a calm, perfectly organized line. Her new perfume, her late-night team meetings, her phone always face down, her sudden excitement about work, too sudden, too loud, too rehearsed, the way she avoided saying her boss's name. And then there were the small things, always the small things, the change in the way she hugged me, the slight delay before saying "I love you," the way her eyes darted away when I asked if everything was okay. Tonight wasn't the beginning, it was the culmination. I opened the flash drive on my laptop. The footage played again, but I wasn't watching for the obvious this time. I watched their movements, their timing, the way they communicated without words. It wasn't an affair born of recklessness. It was a routine, a practiced exit, a familiar comfort, a pattern they'd perfected. I exhaled slowly. Then I checked her location through our shared Find My app. Deactivated. Not turned off, manually removed from sharing. A decision she made earlier that evening. That told me everything. She didn't get lost. She didn't get taken. She didn't get hurt. She chose to disappear. With him. I opened her last message to me. Don't wait up. A lie softened with a smile. I started opening her emails on the shared tablet at home. Old passwords still worked. She was careless enough to trust in my oblivion. A hotel reservation. Made a week ago. Under her maiden name. 1 room, 2 guests. I sat back in my car, engine humming beneath me, like a quiet reminder of the line I was crossing. But I didn't feel like a betrayed husband. I felt like an observer, watching the final scene of a play I already knew the ending of. The suspense wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. Because now I wasn't trying to save anything. I was preparing to see how deep the betrayal went. The hotel was modest, quiet, discreet, perfect for secrets. I didn't go inside. I watched from the far end of the parking lot as dawn stretched across the sky, turning the world pale and unforgiving. At 6:42 a.m., the door opened. She stepped out first. Hair messy, clothes slightly wrinkled. Eyes bright with a glow she hadn't worn for me in months. Then him, the man from the footage. Her boss. They didn't touch, too cautious in daylight, but their silence and closeness exposed everything. She smiled at him before walking to her car, a smile she hadn't given me in a year. And in that moment, the truth wasn't a sharp stab. It was a quiet certainty settling into place. They were not new. They were not confused. They were already something. Something formed in the spaces where I thought she was working late, tired, overwhelmed. She drove off. I let her go. I waited an hour before returning home. When I walked inside, she was at the kitchen counter, pretending to make breakfast she clearly didn't intend to eat. Her eyes lifted to mine, and there it was, the guilty flicker. "Hey," she said softly, "you woke up early." I placed the flash drive on the table. Her face drained of color. "What is that?" I didn't answer, just watched her, calm, still, detached. She opened the file on her laptop. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating, sharp. Her hand flew to her mouth. Her breath hitched. I can explain," she whispered. "But explanations are for accidents, not for patterns, not for choices carved carefully over time." I simply said, "When did it start?" Her tears came fast, messy, loud. Too loud compared to the quiet way she had walked into another man's arms. "It was a mistake," she cried. "It was many mistakes," I corrected. Her world was crumbling. Mine was already rebuilt. I didn't yell, didn't break anything, didn't ask why. Instead, I placed a folder on the table. A folder I prepared the moment the footage confirmed everything. Inside were printed bank statements, hotel records, screenshots of her messages, photographs from the security footage. Her entire secret life laid out in clinical detail. She stared at them like they were pieces of her soul sprawled across the table. You wanted exactly what you chose," I said. My voice was steady, detached, almost cold enough to make her flinch. "I stayed," I continued, "until I understood the truth. And now that I do," I slid a document across to her. Divorce papers. Her breath broke. Her shoulders collapsed. "No, please, we can fix this. I'll quit my job. I'll cut him off. "You already chose him." The simplicity of the sentence shattered her more than any anger could. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. And that step, small, quiet, destroyed her far more effectively than rage ever would. "You watched the footage?" she whispered. "I lived the footage," I replied. Her knees buckled, tears fell freely. She begged in every way she knew how, words, apologies, desperate promises sewn together by panic. But there was nothing left to save. She was fighting for a version of us that died long before I arrived at that security office. I left the papers with her and walked away. Not because I didn't love her anymore, but because she stopped being mine long before last night. I moved out that afternoon, quietly, efficiently, without hesitation. She called me 19 times, texted paragraphs, voicemails trembling with every kind of fear betrayal eventually brings. I answered none of them. Some endings don't need sound, just clarity. I drove to the same overlook where I'd watched the city hours earlier. The sky was brighter now, but inside me, everything was darker, steadier, more defined. I wasn't broken. I wasn't lost. I was free. The truth hadn't ruined me. It had released me. And as I watched the morning sun spread across the city, a single thought cut through everything with quiet, brutal certainty. The night she went missing wasn't a tragedy. It was a revelation. And the camera didn't destroy my marriage. It simply showed me what had already died. I took one last breath of the cold morning air. Then I drove away and did not look back.